give Mr. Barber a few more minutes to get here. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors Finance Committee meeting Tuesday, April 10th, 2018, 6 p.m. Main Conference Room, County Administration, 31 Center Street, Chatham, Virginia. Roll call.
Mr. Blackstock?
Present.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Warren?
Present.
Mr. Scares?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Farmer?
Here.
Mr. Barber?
Are there any items to be added to the agenda? I guess we need to speak to any of the constitutional officers as we progress. That's covered under item B.
Sure.
Councilman. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Have a motion to approve the
Second.
agenda. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, do so by raising your right hand. Agenda approved. Item 5, new business. Discussion, recommendation of potential solid waste disposal fee implementation rate and public hearing schedule. Mr. Smithman.
Thank you. I've just got 10 slides, I think, to go over, and here's some copies if you want to take one for you to make notes. Really just to go over the revenue options we have presently at our disposal, the process by which we might implement a solid waste fee if that's something you wanted to do, as well as potential cuts that you may want to consider that are not on this chart. So starting here, what we heard at the 8 community meetings was not necessarily adversarial to this proposal, but to the way we were proposing to raise revenue for this proposal. So what we have done, and as the board's aware, we've really been digging to understand what other options you might have to fund this proposal. And basically what's left is personal property, real estate, and solid waste fee. We talked about meals tax, we talked about business licenses, we talked about all the various vehicles we have, and basically the ones that we have access to are already maximized. So we're left with these 3. Make sure I'm on the right slide here. Yep. So the first one is personal property. We advertised your ability to consider up to a $12 rate. Of course, a $12 rate is, in real money, $3.06 per 100. And there you see a comparison of us to our peer group. The green line is if you went to $12, what that would look like. And the orange is where we presently are. I think I left out. Here it is. I did. And here's what it generates. We're presently at $8.75. For example, if we were to raise our personal property rate to $10.50, it would raise about $2.3 million and relieve 6 cents on your 11-cent tax increase proposal. So you've got that handy-dandy chart with you to reference as the meeting goes on to consider how you might implement a personal property increase. Real estate tax is real simple. I don't really have a chart for it because it's $400,000 per penny. But this is how we compare to other tax rates, so that you can consider when you do ultimately set our tax rate, you may have that insight into how it compares with others. Solid waste fee is the third way we could garner revenue. It's not impossible, it's not even difficult, but it does have to be done in a separate process from our current budget deliberation. If you, let me just go over the numbers first. We have $3.5 million worth of solid waste expense in this budget, approximately. And there's what a various fee would garner. $60 a year, which is what we used to have, $1.6 million, $10 a month or $120 per year fee, $3.1 million. But we've not advertised for that. In order for us to use this as an opportunity to fund our budget, we will need to have a public hearing as early as May 3rd. That's the earliest we can have a public hearing. We would adopt a budget on April 17th that has a hole in it. It would be a fund balance appropriated hole. So for instance, if you passed a $10 solid waste fee, we would appropriate $3.1 million from the fund balance to fill that hole. Now, we all know we don't have $3.1 million of fund balance in there. So it is imperative that if we were to do that, that we quickly, or in my opinion, quickly, have a public hearing on May 3rd. On May 3rd, adopt the solid waste fee, and on May 3rd, amend the budget you adopt on Tuesday to reconcile it and bring it into true balance before the July 1st year. It is too late to put it on our June billing because we didn't do the software fix that we talked about back in, I think it was January, I think it was December. But we can get it on the December bill. And I verified that with Keystone today. And we can collect the full amount, not a half year. So if we did the $10, $3.1 million, we can expect to get the $3.1 million in December. Like I said, we have to do the public hearing. The earliest adoption date is May 3rd, and we have to plug whatever we come up with fund balance to make it balance if we want to do a fee in FY19. So regardless of all those things, just a reminder, we do have quite a few unfunded liabilities we have to think about over the next 4 years. I know that my proposal is that we not adjust the tax rate over the next 4 years except for unforeseen, unplanned circumstance, and hopefully that we've done well with that planning. But I also offer additional cuts. If this board wants to find ways to reduce this tax burden and not cut fire and rescue, economic development, landfill, and all those things, here's some other ideas that you could consider. We have 2 compactor sites in this budget. Now, those, while they cost $350,000 per to get them built, we are not using $700,000 to do those 2 sites. We have an insurance settlement that we had right when I got here in 2016 of about $220,000 that we would use, that we planned on using for these compactors, as well as some residual amount of our master lease borrowing that we're not planning to use for the rehab of our heavy equipment at the landfill. So by eliminating 2 compactor sites, you're netting a savings of $280,000. We have our first year of landfill reserve contribution in this budget. That's $450,000 that you could not fund. But remember, if you don't fund it this year, you're kind of cutting your nose to spite your face by not funding it in year 2, 3, and 4. So it's potential, unless you change something next year, if you cut the landfill reserve, we could potentially be 4 years behind, or $1.6 million toward that reserve account. We could furlough, have everyone take 2 weeks mandatory, no pay vacation. It's not going to save you a lot of money, and it is a short-term fix. I don't think you can furlough for the next 4 years and have happy employees. But we would not include public safety positions in that furlough, and my estimate is about $240,000 in savings. You know, we have talked to the sheriff, and I think everyone in this room wants to find a way not to cut those 5 deputies, and I think we've come up with a reasonable proposal to consider using contingency this time next year to fill those billets. However, know that if we do, we're adding $240,000 to each of the 3 successive years. I'm not saying that's good, I'm not saying that's bad, I'm saying that's bad. Wayside Park, we have $72,000 to get it rehabbed and open. It doesn't do a lot, but it does enough to get the public using that park on a regular basis. That's $72,000. There's $300,000 in this budget for a cost of living adjustment of 1.8% for all employees, including constitutional officers. Phase 2 of the salary study is in this budget. It's about $140,000. Not a lot, but it's in there. I wanted you to know about that. And then we have this budget, one new position, all-in expense of about $80,000 for benefits and salary and ancillary items. That does not include a vehicle one for that position. Okay. So $80,000. And there are 3 vehicles in here. It didn't make it on my slide. $125,000, and that's for 2 public safety vehicles and a fleet vehicle. $125,000.
When you say public safety, is that sheriff's vehicles or is that?
No, public safety department, which is 911 and fire marshal. Chris Slim.
Is it replacing vehicles or is it new vehicles, period?
No, they're replacing vehicles, yes. So that's my presentation. I didn't want to belabor it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And where would you like me to leave this?
All right, we'll open the floor for discussion. First, I guess we went from A to B, so recommendation to balance FY 2018-19 county budget from the committee to the full board.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make this motion. Going to 5 out of the 8 public hearings. Last night's hearing of the citizens. And on behalf of our law enforcement, our schools, fire, and EMS, this is a tough motion to make, but I will make it for the future of Pittsylvania County. I make the motion that the Finance Committee recommend the approval of the FY 2018-19 budget as presented with the following changes. The real estate tax rate is set at 0.62. The personal property tax rate is set at $9, and the vehicle registration fee set at $40.75. $100,000 is to be budgeted for a recruitment and retention incentive program for the sheriff's deputies. And a public hearing be scheduled as soon as possible to consider the establishment of a $10 per month solid waste fee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
We got a second for discussion?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor for discussion. $0.62. What's the total revenue of that?
62 being 1.3 million. That'll be 1.2 million additional revenue. Our gap is 4.4. FYI. The $90 or the $9 is $8.86.
That includes that.
I know that includes the license fee. Okay, so the net of the license fee is 0, and then $10 is 3.1. So that gets you 4.4. Oh, and 100.
So extra 100,000
plus 100. Well, that gets you to 4.986. 4. Excuse me.
But that deputy there cannot be, I mean, we're just gonna have to jigger.
Well, yeah, we would have to cut and
Jiggle.
paste, basically.
When you say deputy thing, what you're saying is the
We can
position
do
for the
it.
sheriff's gonna be able to fill those 5 positions, but we're gonna do it through
No,
other.
this is something different
Okay, what is
from
different?
what I'm hearing.
Okay, so let's do
I got a
that.
bunch higher numbers than that.
1.2 million for 62. That's 400 times 3. 3 pennies, right? So that's 1.2.
1.2, I agree with that.
886,000 for $9.
I agree with you.
3.1 million for solid waste. What am I, and, what?
You can't
The
do
hundreds.
anything with the 100, because
That's
that's
right,
on the
okay.
expense side,
That's
so you
expense.
cannot, you can't add that to.
You can't add it. You
That's
can,
right.
that's a subtraction.
Well, right now,
It's an
your
expense.
budget,
That's
your
right.
budget's 187.8.
Right.
And we just
Can't-
gotta jiggle with the numbers.
You can't
If
go, you
wanna
can't
do
go above it.
Right. If you wanna do it, it's all doable, but it's all magic in the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
Move everything.
Well, that sounds great, but I think we want to discuss it, because I want to know exactly what that is.
4.3 minus 4.39. 4.39.
That's not what I got.
No,
Am I missing a digit?
you had over $5 million, you over $5 million.
$5,186,000.
Five
That's
point
right.
one.
5.1.
When I added it up. What is it, reassessment plus, I don't know.
3 cents.
Okay, reassessment plus 3 at 62, is that right? It's whole, right? I thought it was 58 cent reassessment.
59.
Reassessment's bringing in what, 3 point what?
Reassessment's bringing in 1.6.
4 cents at 400,000.
Not
So, can you go back to the slide where it showed the landfill, what the landfill cost? You mentioned that earlier. And what does it cost us, $3.5 million in collection and disposal expenses?
And debt service, total expense.
And that leaves us the $450,000 in it. We do $10 to make that a whole item and start preparing us for the closing we know we got 3 or 4 years. Is that what you're saying? Is that what staff's saying?
And actually, that 450 is to close cell C and to open phase 3, which is in about 23 years, but your cost is going to be somewhere between
20.
And does this budget
$20 million.
include the, just asking, because I want to be sure I got all the information. Does it include the $150,000 that we know we just picked up from the contract we just got?
Yes, because we netted, yes.
Mr. Paul?
We're in for discussion.
Yes.
So, my humble opinion is that we advertise 11 cent on the real estate, which I think we all know it's 4.4. I personally don't feel comfortable going above that number. This 5.1 is generating more than we asked for.
I'll say this, I just realized why that makes sense now. There's 625 float in here. So if you wanted a truly balanced budget, you would need 5.025.
Right.
But we know, based on past history, that float's going to be there unless something
Should
goes
be.
wrong.
And I understand, but I'm just going back to what we advertised was roughly 4.5 million. I don't think we discussed 5 million or flood numbers to the public too much.
For me, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
we didn't mention it, and you're right, Mr. Baldwin, but it was a big topic in relationship to each one of the meetings, that because we balanced the budget with the general fund, put us in a compromising position with that. And I'm gonna steal a little bit from my friend, Mr. Barber. The last 2 years, he's whole steadfast that we needed to balance the budget. So for me personally, I would prefer us to go into this thing not talking about using that. I'd rather see us with a balanced budget. And I overwhelmingly heard in those 8+ public hearing meetings that the solid waste fee was the fairest thing we did. And as far as being fair across the board to all the citizens, not putting the burden on just property owners, not putting the burden on just individuals that own vehicles. So that would be my personal reason for saying that, not having a balanced budget.
Other members, committee members, board members?
I mean, it's close to a proposal in my head. I've been thinking for a long time, but I would like to see us restore the sheriff's positions if we go that route, because that's actually why we don't cut him 5 positions if you got the money to balance the budget. I mean, that's not fair. That was a cut, but now if you're gonna go that route, we're going that route, that regenerates the money. I don't see why we would single him out and cut 5 sheriff positions.
It's 240.
I know, but I mean, that's
Well, and you could then, interrupting, but I happen to know where the comp board works, then if he has money left over out of vacancy savings, we could take that out. He would be guaranteed his positions. Any money he has in vacancy savings, he could return it back to us if we go on ahead and guaranteed his positions in that budget.
yes, that's true.
And what vacancy savings is when somebody, vacancy savings is when somebody leaves, but before he can get somebody else hired, that money coming from a comp board is there. Now, we're not guaranteed that money because the state from year to year, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but the state sometimes when they get in the bind, they take it and won't let the sheriffs have it. But most of the time we can get it.
And Mr. Chairman, I would support that, because at every meeting, that was a staple for everybody, was that they didn't want to tie his hands from being able to have those people. And I probably would be more on the soapbox today because of what's occurred recently. We want to be safe.
Mr. Barber's not finished.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Bob. No, I just had to go.
No.
But also, another issue I got is the fire department thing. As we all know, I thought we had the fire department thing worked out. Well, they ain't worked out anymore. They're all mad, tore up. They said we changed everything. If we're gonna do the block grant, well, I mean, I'm just telling you what I heard all weekend. If we're gonna go with what we had, the plan, I mean, they was all, because I went right out there and I asked as many as I could find, are y'all satisfied? A month ago, yeah, we're satisfied. Now, nobody's satisfied. So, I mean, I think we're going backwards on that deal. So, I would like to see what we had in place that they agreed to with the block funding, because everybody was happy at that point, but I don't know what happened.
I think the block funding thing is
There's misconception. The only reason things got ginned up is we put out the proposed draft and said we were gonna set up a meeting for Wednesday to sit down and discuss it. Nothing else was set in stone, and some people would run crazy on the rumors, because I've gotten the same phone calls, and every call I've gotten, it's been full of crap, excuse my language.
Yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure we got that sewed up.
You're not the only
That
one
is
getting
part of the
it.
budget process.
Yeah, the funding portion, I think, is settled.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to get that settled, because I thought we had that one hashed out. That was a long debate. And the other thing, you know, that you got this slide about the land use. Well, if you went from 1,000 to 2,000 minimum, or let's say we increased the acreage, a lot of people say we'll increase it 10 acres. I don't know what the number is, but I'm just saying, that is the backbone of this county. When all else fails, economic development, it always falls back on agriculture, and we brag on agriculture. I don't want to see us go too hard on agriculture, because I've talked to many, many, many farmers about this. And it's a value added to the county. A lot of people think it's a tax break for the farmer. Well, they can show you 20 reasons it's not a tax break for farmers. They put money in. The first jobs I had was agriculture. I mean, we need to make sure agriculture stays vital in Pittsylvania County, because that is the backbone of the county. And just about everybody in this county has some relationship to farming. Somewhere in their past, they come from farm. It's a farming community. and I just want, they're scared. I mean, I don't want them to be scared. Even if we doubled it to $2,000 instead of $1,000, that's 100%. That $10,000 was 1,000% increase. I think it was way drastic. I just wanted to throw that out there. And from talking to boardmen, I don't think anybody wants to go there anyway, so I want to put that to bed too, that if we do changes, it will be small changes, because that.
Well, there are no changes proposed.
But I mean, you kept throwing it out in your slide, and they all think that's coming next year or the year, and it's got them all scared, you know, what's going on with this? Because they do pay full real estate on any property you own. Everybody knows that. I mean, anybody's got a house on a farm, you're paying full value of real estate, so you're not getting a free ride. And I've explained to them too, because we did a study. An acre of land, agricultural land costs about, what is it, 75% less than an acre of residential land because of the services and the school system involved. So, I mean, it has a benefit to the county, and plus the scenery. I mean, that's our selling point of Pittsylvania County. It's an agricultural-based county. And I know Mike likes starting a 100-acre farm versus one residential, because how many calls do you get for cow calls, Mike? I mean, versus a residential.
Well, if I keep Thomas cows in his pen.
But I'm just saying, there is a lot that we can look at, but it's got way more pluses than negatives. I know that's been thrown out there, that it's a tax break. It's not a tax break, it's an incentive for young people to get into farming and agriculture to keep it vital in the county.
Tommy's cows aren't branded as close to my pasture. I've been looking at them.
I got a few. And I also, like I say, I was very impressed with the community meetings I was able to attend, more than one. The people want this county to thrive and be a great county. I mean, it's the people, and everybody knows, you know, we got to pay these bills. Even some of them I thought was going to get ugly, they made good points, you know. Nobody likes paying taxes. I don't like paying them, but we all want the best county we can afford. And I will say afford, we got to live within our means, but I mean, if things do go up, we all know that. Things go up and we have to. And I mean, most people wanted services, because, you know, you ask, what do you want to cut? And people want recreation, and they want good school. I mean, that's what they want. I heard it at every meeting, and I want the same things, but we do have to live within our means, and occasionally things do have to go up if we're going to continue to be a great county.
I want more talk, not less.
I'm also, as I said here, looking at potential cuts. Based on what I heard in all the meetings again was, you know, it was kind of revealing that anytime somebody talked about cuts, when you put the screen up that showed what is being funded, there was not one case where anybody would say, no, we don't need that, cut that. They would look at the list and say, I see it. So I appreciate the transparency. But go back to the screen you were at.
Cuts?
Potential cuts for the night. I want to tell you one thing that really resonated with me really started with the first meeting, and you know, I've heard it before, but I don't want to see us balance this budget on the backs of our employees by doing the cuts for furloughs. I don't want to cut out the compactor sites personally, because I heard loud and clear from those people in the northern end that hadn't got a lot. Okay, it started with your meeting, you know, and I don't want to see us do away with, like, Wayside Park, for example, because I do believe that we all believe that having quality of life helps with economic development, and we've got a project up there. We're about to get the roofer going up there and all. So to do those changes, and I just so that's why I think I'm going to support the motion that's on the table.
I want to point out one thing. Is it? We'll go back in.
Just have one question. Are we
Let's
still
get it.
going to be able to fund the pay increase for the starting pay for the deputies? I know he's having a hard time with retention, and that's a concern of mine. But he gets everyone trained up, and the next thing you know, they're disappearing.
I've been talking to Sheriff Taylor for, I guess, almost 2 weeks now about how can we help you with retention. And we talked, gosh, 90 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, about ideas. I don't know that we've settled on anything yet. I heard Mr. Davis say, let's put $100,000 in there to figure something out. Unfortunately, it's not as simple, and this is what we've run into, it's not as simple as say, we're going to raise our base pay 10%. Because if we do that, we've got compression problems. We got new people coming in making more than somebody's been there 6 years. So Sheriff Taylor and I are talking about some possible solutions that may work with him to give like a sign-on bonus or a retention bonus.
Retention bonus, probably.
Yeah, where it doesn't add to the salary and create more compression. But I say all that to say, there's a bigger problem in the Sheriff's Department, which is the salary schedule, the salary schedule. I mean, the compensation plan. There's no other way to say that. And we're going to need to help the sheriff with that sometime very soon. But right now, I think what we heard in all these meetings was, we're losing all our deputies. We can't recruit deputies. The city, the towns are all paying more. So I think those meetings is what started some of these conversations about how do we get our starting pay up. And I think $100,000 will go a long way in recruitment and retention.
Is not one, some of the proposals at the state level that we have not gotten back is to do some, and to help the sheriff's offices with pay, or enhance the pay, and they certainly need it. With putting with the motion, trying to add 100,000 in, everybody needs to understand, I think you do, but I want to make it clear to everybody in the room, the budget that was advertised, we cannot go above that budgeted amount and put that 100,000 in there without cutting some else. When Ms. Vanderhyde says juggle, that means cut. And I'm for, this is certainly needed. I'm aware of this. I know I was a law enforcement officer for years, and it's terrible. I mean, you do whatever you can, work sucking jobs and everything else to earn a living. It's shameful, really. But wouldn't it make more sense to wait and see what the state does, and then make a commitment to the sheriff that we will work with him? He comes back to us and tells us what he thinks after he knows what's coming from the state, what we need to do.
Can we get his input?
Sheriff?
Yeah. I do think that's feasible, and when we call Richmond to ask our sources there, it's just a quiet time with General Assembly, and they're not talking about it. It's the issue with the Medicaid expansion, and they're working through some details there. So we're hoping within the next few days. I think they're meeting tomorrow. We may get some word tomorrow about it. And Mr. Smoothman is exactly right. We've been talking for some time now about different ways that we can, that the revenues may already be there, that we've been using in the past for other things, that we may be able to, such as fees. And we've got some handouts for everybody tonight. Sometimes I need to know when not to say anything, so it looks like the conversation is going good right now. But I do know this. I haven't learned too much over the years, but I do know when it comes to criminal procedure, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Also, when it comes to budgets and in the vernacular, if it ain't in the budget line, it ain't that. So it's we want to make sure that the money is there, and that we're being reasonable about it. And listen, we've had a lot of discussions in our office about this process, and it's been a timely process. It's made us dig our heels in too, which is a good thing. And I've enjoyed the conversations, hearing about overall how the county's doing by the citizens. They've had opportunities to speak, they've had opportunities to listen, and so I like that process. Mr. Moon, you may have started something that you didn't intend to start.
Yeah.
that I think it's a good thing for the citizens to know how we operate, the efficiency. So we've got, in that packet, we outlined those resources that we may be able to take a look at. So if it's all right, we'll give those out.
I suggest one other thing too. I hear what you're saying and I agree with you. That ain't in the budget. It didn't happen. I know where you're coming from. The sheriff's department, we'll just use round numbers, has $3 million in salaries. That is predicated on every spot being filled for 12 months. It doesn't happen. It never happens. That's how we have the plug money.
Vacancy savings money.
So you can,
some of it's local, some of it's state.
That's right. So you could take 2.9, you could take 3 million, these are made up numbers. 3 million, make it 2.9, take the 100 down here and call it Officer Recruitment and Retention Fund. Put a 100 grand in it and you haven't changed your net. Because we know you're not going to use $3 million in salary. That would mean you have to staff up, you got 12 vacancies now? You have to be staffed up by July 1.
Yeah.
You'd have to be staffed up by July 1 and keep them all.
And right now, on that vacancy savings, we're at about 136,000. Now, I've already put in a docket request for that money to come back to the county, as I said we'd do. So that's 136,000 that once it comes back to the county, Kim can correct me on this if I'm wrong, it has to come back to a certain category, but the comp board doesn't care. Once it comes into the county office, you can use it for those expenses. In addition to that, somewhere around 500 to 600,000 each year is generated by fines, fees that come in through the treasurer's office, and is posted to help our operational costs. So that's another sets of monies that you could take a look at. One of the things too, we're able to get our staff up to par in our jail, and this is something that probably just don't meet your eye at all times. But the inmate workforce, I've explained this to you, I think, before, and that's a savings every year between $400,000 and $500,000. Menial work that goes around mowing the grass, painting, cleaning, those kind of things, and that's based on just an hourly rate wage that has to go to the courts. So if we can get those guys back out, that may be a cost saving somewhere else that we don't have to contract out, or we don't have to have our maintenance folks do. And we're pretty close to having the staff back in our jail to be able to do that. So they're just some of the things that we can contribute to help solve this problem.
Kim, is the money that he's talking about for
He's already requested it, but,
do we,
and because we budget 100% of salaries and 100% of that revenue, that's in the budget.
it's already in there?
It's in the budget. It's not like it's extra money.
We need
But,
that.
praise God, he does draw it down so that we can use it, because if he didn't, then we'd be $132,000 short.
Right.
And he never spends every penny in his budget. He does have about, in excess, $200,000 typically, and it's because of those vacancies that are there just about every year. And I mean, it's not for lack of them trying to get recruits. It's just there. It's just natural turnover that happens. So we never usually have to worry about there being surplus.
So Mr. Chairman, it sounds like we got 100. We're gonna have 100 in there. So
It'll be 100 in there under the current numbers.
But we need to add a line.
well, we need to change a line.
Right.
And make it 2.9 and put 100 to somewhere else. So we don't change the budget, we just changing the number.
The disbursement.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what Kim and Mr. Smitherman, if we guarantee we'll get put back to 5 positions in the budget. Is that 240,000?
240, I was just sitting here trying to think
I
about
want to know exactly I'd like to know what exactly are we talking about as a final expenditure I know it's not a final, but a budgeted final expenditure based, and then the revenue, what we estimate the revenue, and then the difference, where the float would be, how much float we expecting. And I have one other comment. When we talking about compactor sites, those two sites that we're talking about, one of them's for the Calhoun-Gretna district and one of them's for the Bannister district. I have a site up there, and I've told y'all, I've mentioned it more than once, in the northern tip of the county, over around Straight Stone back to Cody, that is not in, that doesn't meet that criteria, and it never shows up when I ask. And I know if I don't ask now, it's not gonna happen for 5 years, because we're getting ready to pass probably the largest tax hike in Pittsylvania County history. Can we find that money for that third compactor site?
I think in our long-range plan, that 280 carries forward, so probably in the second or third year, we'd have the cash for the compactor site.
It'd take 3 years, but we will have the cash.
And 622 needs expanded. My God. Have you seen that truck? 2 days, I mean, you empty it, next day it's out on the ground. I mean, they're packing that thing out of hurry to start getting white going.
I don't know if it's spring fever.
Oh, it is.
All of
It's
them.
terrible.
Spring cleaning kind of brings it all out.
It's terrible.
What kind of thing?
Where's it coming from?
I don't think they're carrying it up to 626.
It's over capacity, I can say that.
But what I'm asking, I want to get back to that compactor site. It's truly a need there. And if we're gonna do this, I want some kind of, Mr. Warren?
I'm going to agree with Mr. Blackstock on that, and I have a question for staff. Couldn't we accelerate taking care of the site he's talking about? And and use part of the 450 that we got in landfill reserve next year to go ahead and get 3 compactor sites? And then the next year, when it's in the 280 budget, we just drop that amount down to cover what that cost was.
How come you can't use it this coming year?
That's what I'm saying, right now.
Okay, you talk, yeah.
Yeah.
And we just backfill it in future years back to
The
where it's
next year.
supposed to be.
The next year.
In reserve.
Because yes. I mean, that's just moving numbers around.
I thought you meant wait another year.
No, I meant move it to 2019 budget.
So that 450 is, if it's placed in that for the next 20 years, that gives you about $12 million to close CLC and close off that whole section and open phase 3. And so you've got time. I mean, you're doing it over 8 to 20,
And
23 years.
that takes 2 or 3 sites if we do it that way.
We can go ahead and do it.
Yes.
I think we got a sidebar over here, I want to see what's coming up.
We are outlining many options we can give you to figure this out. We'd rather not disclose quite. Our ideas are half-baked at best.
I want to mention one thing too. I know a lot of these meetings too, the discussion of Berry Hill come up. And a lot of people don't see that as a vital project. But I was thinking when people were saying that is the key to a reduction in tax in the future. I mean, no doubt about it. But a lot of people don't even know this. A while back, the state and the Bank Commission were willing to put $1 billion incentive package in Pittsylvania County. $1 billion. And that showed me how important that project is, because the state was going to step up. I mean, that would have drained them on projects all over the state to put that kind of money in Pittsylvania County. And we come in third, Land Toyota plant. I'm ready for us to come in first. I mean, I think it was 16, narrowed down to 3. We come in third out of everybody around the whole East Coast trying to get this plant. But it impressed me that they was willing to put up $1 billion in Pittsylvania County. That showed me we're on the right track. In the Tobacco Commission, my understanding, what are we in that thing? 10%, 20% split between us and them?
Most of the money was 90% money was 5.
So I mean, a lot of people think we put a ton of money. It is a ton of money spent over, but the county and the city is split. It's probably 10%, 15%. So I mean, we're getting money from the Tobacco Commission to develop that park, but that $1 billion they run, because they stepped up to the plate, and I was like, if the states want to put up $1 billion in Pittsylvania County, they see it as a very vital, valuable project. So I mean, in time that will do it, that will reduce the tax. Because what I always think about, when Berry Hill started, Dan River was demising, and that, I mean, the jobs was scarce. And we started trying, what are we gonna do? If Goodyear were to close, and you didn't have a backup plan, and we all know that plant's old, I mean, what would it do to our area? I mean, it would be devastating. Mr. Davis knows that, without anything to take its place. So, I mean, you need small projects, you need small parks, but you also need a big employer, in my opinion, because like I said, if Goodyear closed doors, we would be hurting right now. I don't even know where we would recover. We'd be like eating this place where Miller closes. They're facing the same thing. And that was my other point. North Carolina's willing to put millions of dollars into Pittsylvania County because they see Berry Hill as a vital project. I mean, that amazes me too, that their Golden Leaf Foundation and the city of town of Eden is ready to put money in Pittsylvania County. So, I mean, a lot of people don't understand it, but I see that's a big thing to wrap your head around, but that is a big project. And we always talk about educating our children. We want to move back to Pittsylvania County. Well, if they get educated, they got to have the job. Them other type jobs that'll be high-paying jobs that we can get them back in the county. So I think it all is a full circle plan. And the reason it took so long, people don't understand either, it's frustrating. Permitting, we've been trying to permit that place for 10 years, and we finally, because a lot of people say, well, we've had it 10 years, we just got the permits, what was it, 2 years ago?
Oh, since I've been here.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, two grade decided, it took a long time. But I also was told this, if a company looks at your area, they want to be up and running in less than 3 years. I mean, they're not going to come over here and see your vision, we got a piece of land there, they want to be up and running, so we're in place now. I just want to point that out, because I heard that a lot at these public meetings.
Well, if I may, I'll echo the same comments Mr. Barber just had. Mr. Blackstock and I were just in the RIPA meeting yesterday, and had a nice presentation, and it was presented that now, really for the first time, it is the #1 viewed site in the state of Virginia, and the state of Virginia is helping market it now to a full extent. And we just didn't have all that going on before because we hadn't got the permits before we been here. So, you know, moving in the right direction.
Any other discussion? Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, we say that those compactor sites are $350,000, is that correct?
Mr. Hicks?
On average, yes, sir.
Well, the one that I had put in Keelan, that went over to $430,000, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. It's gone up.
There was a whole lot of grading necessary on that site.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I'm just wondering about that particular figure. I'm hoping it'd be less, but it could be more than $350,000, so I'm just saying.
And I know if I can find some flat land in Straight Stone. Some knotty hills and some flat land. But Dr. Miller, you familiar with that area? We got some flat land down there.
We have.
That's part of your district too, down in that corner.
Yeah, we do.
That's a good observation, Mr. Davis. I think the one that we built before you was about $400,000 too. We had to go back and do some asphalting and make some changes.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing I liked about Mr. Davis' motion is going ahead and proceeding with having the public hearing about the solid waste fee. And, you know, that kind of lets everybody be comfortable to know it's finalized as far as the school system, be it the fire and rescue. We just put everybody's not on edge anymore about what they can count on. Because of just what the sheriff just said a few minutes ago, until you got it done, it's not done. And I'm tired of it.
So what we're saying is included in the motion, well, the motion is basically about revenue. But we're saying on the expenditure side that we're going to make some changes and include 3 compactor sites versus 2. With the extra revenue that's generated above the 4.4, we're going to guarantee the sheriff he gets his 5 positions. The $100,000 that Mr. Davis mentioned for retention will come off of basically vacancy savings, and they'll make a change in the budget for that. Because you gotta cut somewhere, I wanna make sure everybody understands, you gotta cut somewhere to put 100 more in there. Is there anything I'm missing?
It's $690,000 in additional costs. Compactor $350, $100K.
Well, the compact is gonna come out of the first year of the landfill.
Yeah, that's just a moving number.
That's true, that's not a net cost, you're right. So it's $340 cost.
All right, how close will you be, based on the revenue that's being generated on the numbers?
This is what I would recommend.
Okay, well, we listening to you.
I would recommend that the resolution include what you're doing for real estate, personal property, like your license fee, because they're done things. That you all advertise for solid waste fee. I've already talked to our auditors, have talked to Vaden. We do have to re-advertise your county budget because it changes. These changes that you're talking about, they can be part of this amendment, and if it does happen to spill over that amount, it spills over the amount, but we're advertising it, and now it's a new figure. It's not the old figure anymore. But this budget, which I've already sent in to Kaylin to adopt, is the amount that was advertised. So we don't want to go over that amount.
No, we gotta stay under.
Right, so, but in order for the train to leave the station for Vincent and for Shirley, these rates need to be set. Tuesday. We have already talked to them about the possibility of just waiting, and that's just not feasible for them.
Because
to
the
give
bills
them
have to
plenty
go
of
out.
time,
Bills have to
because
go
they
out.
have to go out. So that's what I would recommend. I would recommend doing a resolution that has your real estate, your personal property, your license fee, get that all set, and we will adopt the budget, because you're only talking about minor changes. And if it does happen to be
We're gonna have to check.
$100,000 more, but we're gonna jigger the numbers as best we can without going over that figure, but that way we wouldn't be limited. And you all could even have another finance committee meeting to even go back through them and what we've done.
Well, ain't the solid waste separate anyway, because.
It is, and so
Well, I mean,
that's.
that's not in your amount, you're taking out of general fund, you can take the exact amount out of general fund to balance till you get your solid waste back, because that's gonna be a separate deal.
Correct. Exactly.
You're not going up, you're actually taking money out of general fund, you can make that balance. And then when you get your solid waste, amend the budget, put it back in, is
But
that
you still
correct?
have the public hearings.
Well, you still
More
have
than
the same
1%.
expense.
We just gotta have-
But I'm saying, you
More than
can
1%.
manipulate your,
Yes.
whatever you take out of your
But
general
we're going
fund
back.
will balance.
Initially, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Either
what
way,
she
you have to
would
vote.
do.
That's
I
what-
mean,
we should.
Well, that's the whole reason I thought we needed to advertise. the
We had a
county
public hearing
budget,
last
because
night,
it's
and the state
completely
law says you have to wait
different
7
now
days
than
before you
it was.
adopt
Now
the
we have
budget.
enterprise.
That was on
But
Tuesday,
all
we
that
adopted that
then-
budget.
Yeah.
Then we advertised for the amendment, and on the 3rd,
If this is the motion that passes tonight, we can develop a proposal
Out of general fund?
and get it out to you before the end of this week, and give you a step-by-step of how it gets corrected in this advertised budget amendment on May 3rd.
But you're not actually going up, you take solid waste off.
What scares me though,
Going down.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
but
at all these
on that day,
numbers, what
though,
scares me
on the 3rd, we have to
is if you
establish
don't do
a
solid
new
waste
fund.
fee, because he's saying pull out landfill
And we will have
expenses.
to pass that solid waste.
No, I
fund.
said, I said solid waste fee.
No.
Right,
You don't have solid waste
right,
fees, you
Here's
have
what
to
we-
general fund to make up the difference.
Here's what we do on May 3rd. We strip out $3.5 million, and we put in a new fund called solid
And-
waste.
and-
And then on the same day, we pass the revenue to fund that new fund.
But I'm saying, from your accounting side, it will
What
balance.
Yeah.
What he's saying is
You're not
pull
going
out
over.
all the landfill, and then your budget's not.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
I said,
Okay.
the
But
solid
it makes
waste,
sense.
solid waste fee,
He's talking about the revenue
you're
side.
talking about you can't go up in revenue what was advertised.
Right.
But if you pull out solid waste completely out of it, and we were gonna take it out of the general fund, the general fund can match to the dollar of what the proposed budget is without going over that dollar amount. Because this is
But
gonna be.
you're cutting out $3.1 million of expenses to get it to
Yeah.
that point, which I'm not saying is
No, I'm saying
bad.
out of the general fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
That's
just,
what you'd be doing.
but
But
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
what
put
we're saying is what we said the last 2 years. We're gonna adopt this budget, we're gonna adopt this budget that's short $3.1 million.
Correct.
Just using
Correct.
numbers.
Correct.
But on May 3rd, we're gonna turn around and amend it and fund it
Right.
to 3.1.
Right.
That's all we're saying.
And that's what we're doing.
When will the General Assembly session be finished? Because you're gonna probably, that's probably going to have to be included anyway.
You know, believe it or not, what we're hearing is mid-May, that the leadership is, and this is just what I'm hearing from the delegates I've talked to and other people, is the leadership is waiting for new revenue numbers to come in from the first quarter of this year. And they won't be in until like the 10th of May. So I don't think we're gonna hear anything from the state on our timetable. The good news is, there's so little potential impact. I mean, when you're talking about, if they change constitutional officers by 4%, you know, our delta in that is very small. It's just a fractional fringe. Is that correct?
Well, they give the school teachers a raise too. That's a substantial amount of money.
But none of that's our money. It just comes
Well,
through.
it is.
Yes, it is too,
How so?
because it's passed.
Because some of the teachers are not state teachers,
Gotcha.
just like our
Gotcha.
constitutional officers are state funded. So it could affect us. And their budget will change,
But-
just
but-
because but that'll be done after July 1.
But
They'll do
that is even a
every year.
greater reason for us to adopt a balanced budget, not relying on general fund, because that gives us that flow, that cushion for those little items.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about adopting a budget, we know.
Well, we have to, a week from today, or these two people behind me will be throwing things in my
Are we
back.
gonna fix the personal property this time about the 9, or we gonna go to like everybody else in the state? I'm sure they don't like that, but are we ever gonna get like everybody else?
Surely,
It's confusing.
I'm
What do you mean I
coaxing,
don't like that?
I'm coaxing Shirley into a conversation around revenue reform. Every time I see her, I say the words revenue reform. And sometime this fall, we need to look at all those things at one time. But there's nothing we can do that's going to affect this budget right now.
No, no, I'm not,
I
I just
agree.
wanna get something,
Yeah.
numbers I can understand.
Well, I'm only gonna comment to the fact that I wanna do it before she retires, 'cause
Are y'all pushing me out?
I just don't wanna think about you retiring and us not having somebody new to try to do this.
Or we could
It's
drag on.
actually a compliment.
Oh, okay.
That's the way it was
I don't know how to
meant.
take it, okay?
That was the way it was meant.
Yeah, we would, I'll tell you what, and this is kind of changing subjects. You know, that we wanted to suggest to you in your budget resolution, some statements like, the board requests that staff look at a new set of revenue assessment methods to bring the rates more in line with our peer groups, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But have a statement in there that the board says, we would like for this to happen. Have a statement. Another thing that you brought up to me months ago was, what can we do to tighten our policies to make sure we don't end up in this place again? That's basically what you said. And Kim and I have talked about, are there one or two policies we need to revise in our manual, in our policy book, to account for those things? And we would suggest those as part of the budget resolution. We're not there yet. We don't have a draft. And yeah, we want to account for some of these things. You know, put in there that this budget funds 3 compactor sites, 2 in the Callens-Bannister area, 1 in the Stanton River area. Go ahead.
Gallons back driving on Bannister and Stanton Road.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to make sure that that all these ideas you guys have had are memorialized in the document, so that as the year goes on, we have the marching orders to get it done.
May I make a statement regarding solid waste? Are you proposing that we pick up where we left it 2 years ago with the same ordinance and the same provisions? Because right now we have 868 that have a permanent affidavit on file. And the board adopted it at that point and said, you come in, you tell us that the house is vacant, you're never gonna rent it, we sign a permanent affidavit, and we take that fee off.
We hired your extra person over there, can't you have somebody do some checking?
I'm thinking the same thing.
I know we're doing checking, because my phone rings every time he goes somewhere.
You can audit that permanent affidavit.
$868, that's two and a half checks a day.
Look, we can get something on the books, we're not gonna start collecting revenue until December, right?
Yeah.
We have a
Plenty of
big
time.
window, we can have a legislative committee meeting and fix it once we get
But
it on the
just
books.
remember that.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, because we've tried to keep the fee
I know,
on
I know.
there. You know, if somebody built a new house, we tried to go ahead and put the fee on there, but,
There's
you
a
know,
couple sections that need to be tweaked.
and
we
you've
can tweak.
got reassessment that went out and picked up new construction that may not have put the fee on. So, I mean,
Right.
we've got some evaluation stuff that's got to
Yeah.
take place.
I like legislative committee idea. We'll write that in the resolution.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question, not to embarrass myself. Am I chairman solid waste? We had a meeting this year and I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I think you
probably are.
I think you are.
I think I am.
I got it on my desk.
We
I
can
can go.
call solid waste meeting on down the road, I think
Yeah.
y'all recover this. There is some things that I want to discuss with Mr. Hicks, like what I said about 620, I don't need nothing like that, but some of them do need an upgrade, no doubt about it. Didn't you say 41's running over too? Mine needs an extra box installed. If you had 3 boxes, I think I talked to Mr. Hicks about that would help alleviate that problem a lot.
We, you know, if we implement the solid waste fee, we owe our citizens a better collection
Right.
system.
Because, I mean, I'll take pictures and show you guys, you would not believe that site on Monday morning.
Well,
Have you been up there and seen? I mean, they got the things, when they pull the box out and put another one in, they're getting on, the box has been pulled out, and they got that stuff stacked up like a mountain. I come about it one night, there was a guy standing on top of it, the guy was throwing him in the trash. On the one that they'd already pulled out was full. I mean, that thing was a monster, but they making a mess of it.
We do need to have solid waste committee meeting about that, but also to consider implementing some changes, especially in the periphery of the county and outside the dam, to have locked gates and manned collection and stop the abuse.
Because I've heard that a lot too.
Up at 626, I saw, it's like everybody is emptying their households, all on Saturdays, and, you know. it
On
was-
626?
Mhm.
The reason is
That's
because,
crazy, trash.
well, no, and I used to have a place up there, I'm telling you, I'd go up and stay on the weekend. When I left on Sunday, I would take my trash, or back then it was dumpsters. I would take my trash, because I didn't want to leave it up there for a week or 2 weeks, and throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah,
All those,
this
mattresses.
Couches.
Couches.
No, I didn't throw any mattresses.
It's crazy what's
Yeah,
going in.
it's a little bit of everything.
It is bad.
And,
So one thing we talked about, maybe changing some of the worker schedule, where we have like a Monday, Thursday schedule and a Tuesday, Saturday schedule. You know, some of these boxes that are really getting piled up, maybe we pick them up on Saturday.
One of the guys told me too, they come up there empty and take a box back. Why couldn't they bring a box when they come, drop one and take one? One of the guys that actually manned them was telling me, you know, it makes sense. Instead of making 2 trips, why don't they bring the box when they come? They get the truck anyway, put that box in. I think that's what's happening, it's a lapse time. They're taking the empty one down, and by the time they get back, they done filled the other one up. I don't know, just thinking save us money too, you know, still making 2 trips.
We have lots of opportunity in our solid waste collection
we
system.
probably ought to guide this back to the budget.
Yeah.
Back to the question at hand, if everybody's okay with that. So what we're saying is, we're gonna, basically, you're gonna advertise the rates in a motion, so they can get, the treasurer and the commissioner of revenue can get everything in line, and we will juggle the numbers, staff will juggle the numbers and bring them back to us next Tuesday night for a vote.
Correct.
And then, when the legislature finishes and we do the public hearing for the way you listen, this is where you're earning your money.
Right.
We need to have a public hearing for the solid waste fee. Is it any reason, I mean, I'm just asking this because I got some work for this board of supervisors not almost every night this week, and then some during the day. So I don't want to add any meetings we don't have to. Is there any reason that public hearing has to be done May 3rd, we don't have to come back in here May 3rd now, do we? Is there any reason that public hearing cannot wait until the meeting in the third week in May?
The only problem you have is the same problem you had in January with the software. You know, I don't know if y'all wanna just tell them to go ahead with the software.
Well, we're
but-
doing it in the budget, you gotta tell them to go ahead with it. We gotta go ahead and tell
Just
them.
don't know the amount, or I guess what? No, we
We're
do,
talking
yeah.
about the software for the solid waste fee, and I assume that you will do it.
We gotta do it, with a $3 million hole in the budget, we don't do it.
Yeah. You
We
won't
tell
have
them-
a budget like that again next year, but.
Your answer is, there's no magic about the May 3rd meeting. You could do it at your regular meeting in May. But just know, if you don't do a solid waste fee, we are flat bankrupt. I mean,
Yeah.
just everybody remember that.
Because the
We ain't
training-
bankrupt yet.
Yeah, but
we will be.
We will be. It'll be like the school bond issue again. I guess the fear from staff was, if there was a longer window for people to pick at you, you would change your vote. I don't think you're gonna do that. But there is no magic reason why we have to have it May 3rd.
Let's
No.
be careful what we say, because we got social media
Right,
butterflies that
right.
take every little blurb.
But yeah, there's no magic reason.
I'm not available May 3rd, so that would help me.
Okay.
We could do the public hearing at the regular meeting. There's no, what I'm saying, there's no rush in doing it if we know we're gonna do it.
Right, in the budget amendment, it's not like the actual budget. The actual budget, you have to wait 7 days to adopt it. Budget amendment, you can do it on the same night. We recently did this when we did the master lease program.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very comfortable with that if we have a consensus of the entire board, that that's what we're gonna do. We just don't need to we don't need to leave saying we're gonna wait till that night and then not be on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, if you cut it from 10,
You got a problem.
it's a
We got a problem.
I wanna add one more thing. I wanna go back to what Mr. Barber said. Because the people in you gotta realize, a lot of our districts are vastly different in this county, the makeup of them, especially on the northern end, and some of the rural areas that we represent, not just the northern end, it's some on the southern end. The farmers are scared to death. Can we commit to saying that we're gonna basically leave land use alone?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that, definitely.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scarry? I'm certainly fine with it.
So this would be one of the aspirational messages we put in the budget process. Yeah, we would.
You put it in that document.
Yeah, we would not, it would not.
Look at me, Mr. Snowden.
You want to put it, we're not going to change lanes, we can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I like most about that?
That's what we just said.
It means less meetings.
Well, that means is one thing, get the fire department on board, straightened out, and that's the last fire that I see burning, because, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I hope we can do that.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, we get that one corrected. and I
We're
think we
scheduled
got
to
it.
fix that at your meeting in May.
Okay.
There's no public hearing about fire and rescue
In April.
on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
get them, they were
Right,
satisfied,
exactly.
get them back satisfied, and that, to me, that's the last major hurdle, because I see Michael respond, he even wants that, once. Trying to put out all these, we had fires burning everywhere, put out all these fires.
Mr. Palmer?
As I stated earlier, I came in here with the idea of the 4.4 number. I understand balancing. I understand that $600,000 deficit. And I'm aware that's a need, and I'm coming around to it. But I would like to ask, I think you said this during our public meeting, this is a 4-year outlook. And I know we can't predict the future, but in your best estimate, this would be a 4-year opportunity for us to stay put. Thank you.
Unless something falls apart.
Sure, I understand.
I really think it's sustainable. The only thing it doesn't do is get our fund balance back up to our policy.
Well,
It just doesn't, and it's gonna take us a long time.
Well, and we can't spend, one of the things that we gotta remember here is, we've got some revenue that we are expecting. But we can't we cannot, as a board, spend that revenue, because you can't hold future boards to that. That's like what you put in, and I don't wanna, I'm not throwing you on the bus, but when you start promising Mountain Valley Pipeline money to different entities,
Sure.
we can't do that.
That's correct.
And that money, the future board may say, we wanna use that to build our fund balance back up, or revenue that comes in from Burry Hill.
Our revenue comes in if we decide to take solid waste from somewhere.
Well, we got another something with a new Ripple Park on the northern end of the county. We may have to come up with some money for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the budget is only adopted 12 months at a time. We can plan all we want, but at the end of the day, we have to re-adopt the plan every 12 months.
Make sure when you buy them 3 new cars, I'm tired of hearing people fuss about
The
cars.
main thing-
You look at buying some Volkswagens.
The main plus I see with the budget now, is what I've been saying forever, it's not reoccurring expenses that we're in the hole on. That is what kills us, in my opinion. I mean, if you're $1 million short this year, I know I preached that, but at least this budget's balanced. That's what depleted our general fund. That's bad information. I mean, we all agree on that. At least it's balanced now. We're not on life support on the budget.
That's correct.
All right, are we clear on the direction we're going?
62-cent tax rate, personal property rate of $9, vehicle registration fee of $40.75, and the intent to adopt a solid waste fee of $10. That's the motion. Oh, and a $100,000 incentive fund for recruitment and retention of shares.
Well, that's not extra, because that's money that's already in the budget. We just want to do
And the deputies in and the land use out.
Deputies in.
Well, it's never in, but now it's really not.
All right, just want to make sure we're all clear on that.
But a lot of those changes will come with your adjustment to the
Amendment.
budget. Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all
And that
will.
way we can make sure we handle all that.
We'll be working on it.
Mr. Davis?
This $40.75 that I made in this proposal, or this motion rather, how much does the county get back off of that? Is there any?
120,000.
Okay, but I'm saying, is that a total figure? I mean, for 40.75, you don't get back 40.75, do you?
That's the increase. Oh, do we?
Now, because I'm
We
thinking,
get-
who
we
you
get all
on,
of it.
you
We get
get all of it, 100% of that.
Hundred.
Well, it used to be the decal.
Right, and it's
Well,
a $2 increase.
Well, at
And
that,
it's not just 38.75 to 40.75, it's increment, yeah, all of that. $2 on everything.
Well, I was
That's
told-
$2 on motorcycles.
I was told DMV got a certain portion of that.
No, it's based on you cannot go over a DMV registration. And at the time we set it at 38.75, it was 38.75, and now it's increased.
That's the maximum the state federal
Ask
laws.
him to revise his motion.
That's what I was
$2
going.
increase.
I would say a $2 increase on all segments of the license fee, so that you cover everything. But
That might be better.
So do I need to make that in another motion?
You'll just amend your motion to say instead of 40.75, to increase registration fees by $2.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to amend that motion and put in an increase of $2 and what?
Just $2 to all registration.
$2 to all registrations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll pull the trigger in second. that.
Okay.
This is what you said all day.
I'm gonna keep standing until I die.
Oh.
Just so you know, gentlemen, because I saw some hands go up earlier, this is actually a finance committee meeting, so the finance committee needs to vote here. So we have a motion and a second. Is it any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to compliment the entire board, you, the finance committee, and the staff for a job well done on taking the show on the road. And it doesn't put a good taste in our mouth. I don't think any of us have tax increases having to do this. But I think we truly listen to the citizens, and we're doing it in a manner that we believe is most fair across the board to everyone, and that's what they said they want. So I compliment all of you on a job well done.
I just legislated to David too, you got guts. I mean, seriously, David, people will do what you can. And you didn't even wear a bulletproof vest, I don't think, I don't say what you did.
They haven't really depended on that.
That was it.
Thank you.
Mr. Short?
I might be completely out of order here, and this may already have been addressed between Mr. Smitherman and Mr. Anaheim, but with $3.5 million coming in December, I'm physically...
3.1.
Okay, I'm physically sweating back here. Just wondering about cash flow with that much extra, waiting 6 months to get it, how are we gonna be cash flow with scheduled bond payments, or are we gonna have cash flow issues between June and when we collect that money, because that's such a sizable amount all at once, midway through the fiscal year? That's the only thing I'm sweating about a little bit. But if they've already run the numbers, and they know we got pennies in the bank to pay all the bills till we get that 3.1, I'm good.
Well, you really got about $18 million.
Right. So you have some.
You can use that for cash flow.
You may have a little, yeah. Yeah, maybe 19.
We're just gonna have to
We'll
watch
a
it.
little bit more because, that balance is gonna be up because these fees will come in June. These increases will come in June. Even though they are for next year, they are gonna come in early.
You have to watch it. You just have to watch cash flow close. Thank you, Mr. Shorter.
Can I ask Mr. Short a question?
No.
Mr. Short, don't we actually receive in real estate and personal property more than 50%? People pay, I mean, some pay annually.
Yes.
So we're gonna have some more cushion in there, right?
It's always front-loaded in the beginning, but in the totality of this budget, because 3.1 revenue is scheduled for the first collection in December, we won't be front-loaded. So if you take the whole revenue projection for the whole fiscal year, we won't be front-loaded this time. Well, from those two categories, we will be, but from the totality of the revenue projections, we won't be.
I think in a flow basis, I think having two big points might actually help our flows some. Because getting extra in June and then getting extra in December kind of gives you a cushion through both 6-month periods. Would seem to. In theory, you know.
All right, any other discussion?
I'm just glad we're settling these issues and taking care of getting the money that we need to run the county properly. This is important. I don't like raising taxes, but we have to fund the county to do the job.
All I will say is we got the press and make sure you put that little blurb in there that we're not gonna be taking the land.
I got it gold.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of moving the budget forward based on the motion about Mr. Davis and second about Mr. Scarce, raise your right hand. Opposed? Unanimous from the committee going back to the board. Is there anything else? Ms. Miller? I'll be here by phone voting for the budget at the board meeting next Tuesday. We need to set. For April. I've gotta work.
I don't know about that, we have a remote meeting policy.
Do I need to sign anything or do anything for you?
I'll get with you. There's one more thing I gotta do, it's the
We need to go and do that. All right, I gotta get that done.
Mr. Blackside, is he available for the work session?
I will not.
There's no action I can take.
No action on what?
That's what I want to make sure of.
You got all you're gonna get.
I'm glad Dr. Miller and me is finally getting that book.
Yeah, I'm journey meeting.